Are we ready to start? Hello? I'm not able to hear. Is anyone talking? Hello?
Hello, Nilima.
Yeah, I'm not able to know whether I have to start or we still have to wait.
Ma'am, shall we just wait for 5 minutes? Not 5 minutes, but just 2-3 minutes. Like, I'll just checking with processor and let you know.
Yeah, because the next talk is also there, and the other speaker has a meeting at 12:15.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
There's a hard stop at 12:15.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mugdha madam, just in 2 minutes we'll start.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Mugdha madam, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I stop?
And you can share yours. There are a few things which we want to.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, good morning. So I take this opportunity to welcome one and all for this online lecture series, which is being organized by the institution's Innovation Council of Vidyapratishthan's Arts, Science and Commerce College under the auspices of Ministry of Education. So where we have initiated the Impact Lecture Series, which will be conducted all throughout the year to motivate and to inspire the students with bringing about these lectures by experts with the domain expertise in different areas of innovation, incubation, and entrepreneurship. So looking at entrepreneurship, so today we have two expert speakers, Dr. Mugdha Lele and Dr. Smita Kale. So we welcome for the first session Dr. Mugdha Lele ma'am, who is the head Social Innovations Venture Center, Pune. Now I request Dr. Tushar Bose, the convener of IIC of Vidyapratishthan Arts, Science, Commerce College, to kindly give the glimpse of the today's event. And I also take this opportunity to thank our principal, Dr. Bharat Shinde, Dr. Lala Sahib Rashid, Vice Principal, Science Faculty, for all their guidance, which have made this entire program today possible, and all the other coordinators of IIC who are present for today's session, and all the students. So we welcome you all once again, and I now request Dr. Tushar Bose to kindly share the views about this entire session which we have organized for the benefit of the students.
Good morning, one and all. Respected today's presenter, Dr. Mugdha Lele and Dr. Smita Kale, Principal, Vidyapatishan Arts Science Commerce College, Honorable Dr. Bharat Shinde sir, Vice Principal Dr. Kashik sir, President of IIC, that is Institution Innovation Center, Mrs. Nilima Pendarkar, all the activity coordinators, and the coordinator for this Impact Lecture Series, Mrs. Nilima Devi, my colleagues, and my dear friends, student friends. As we know that this Institution Innovation Center or Council, the main aim is to create an environment so that the students and the faculty members, they can bring out their ideas, develop that ideas, and convert that idea into some technology or a product which could be beneficial for the society. Although we all have many ideas which comes to our mind, we try to execute it, we try to build up some prototype out of it. But the thing which we lack is the money. So the question comes that from where we should get this particular fund amount so that the motives or the objectives of that particular idea could be completed. So to overcome this particular lacuna, today we have organized 2 lectures by the Venture Center, which is situated in Pune. So we have 2 dignitaries, Dr. Mugdha Lele and Smita Kale, who will be guiding us that what are the different funding opportunities which we could grab so that the objectives of our project or the idea what we have conceived can be converted into a product or a prototype. So that's the main theme. So with that particular motto, we have started with this lecture series. So let's begin with the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, this impact lecture series would definitely have a very strong impact both with the faculty as well as the students. So going ahead with the first lecture for today by Dr. Mugdha Lele, who is the head of the social innovations at the Venture Center, Pune. We welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of Vidyapatishan Arts Science Commerce College, where we would like to share with you that we are celebrating our Golden Jubilee year. So we are very happy to invite you, ma'am, at our campus, though it is virtually, but maybe as you have been a regular visitor, so maybe in future again we'll have a direct one-on conversation. So we have with us ma'am to speak on startup, how to build and execute. And to more specifically mention, it is science entrepreneurship and upcoming funding opportunities for early stage ideas in science and technology. And I would like to give a very brief introduction of Dr. Mugdha, who is currently head for social innovations at Venture Center. She has done her PhD from School of Health Sciences, University of Pune, and has teaching and research experience in a state government medical university. And at Venture Center, ma'am is responsible for driving the social innovations and related activities and is responsible for providing technical mentoring for incubatees at Venture Center. Mugdha ma'am has been a fellow of Chevening Royce Science and Innovation Policy and Leadership Program, that is CRISP, at the Said Business School, University of Oxford, UK in 2016. In 2018, she has also been a part of Aritra Accelerator Program for Leadership in the Social Sector at IIM Bangalore with FICA Solutions and Dr. Reddy's Foundation. She is interested to drive programs which support development of novel technology solutions for impact in the social sector. So a brief intro, but of focusing her entire interest in motivating and inspiring the students towards ventures with the startups and to convert their ideas into entrepreneurship. So we welcome you once again, ma'am. And now I request you to please take over.
Thank you for this kind introduction. I hope I'm audible as well as my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, and there's no echo on your side, right?
No, ma'am. Absolutely no.
All right. Okay. Thank you for confirming. So thank you for welcoming me to this session. Although this is a virtual session, I would welcome all of you to have any questions that you have. If you want, you can stop me in between, or we can take it through the chat box. I'm requesting one of the organizers to please monitor the chat box and let me know if there are any questions, and you can stop me at any point of time. So with this, let me begin the session on how to take your ideas ahead, how to execute it. And for this, we need to understand what is science entrepreneurship, and to take your ideas ahead, we will be splitting it into two halves. I will talk about the funding opportunities which are available, and my colleague Dr. Smita Kale, she will particularly talk about grant writing, because this writing a grant for a startup idea is a completely different ball game than writing a grant for a research idea. So the second session, which will be led by Dr. Smita Kale, is equally important. But let me set the tone of the entire session today by giving you an overview or a primer to what is science entrepreneurship, where we will try to understand what is the business creation process. We will try to understand technology innovations and science startups, and a few essential points what you need to keep in mind before you actually venture into science entrepreneurship, if at all you are interested in this particular domain. I will also touch upon how we as Venture Center can help you in your journey, and then we will close my session with the most important aspect, which is what are the funding options which are currently open, as well as which are going to open in the near future, so that you can keep an eye on those funding opportunities. Also, to get an update about the upcoming funding opportunities, requesting all of you to share your email addresses via your organizing team with us, so that we can send you an emailer which will keep you updated on the funding calls which are going to come in the future. So let us start with the primer on science entrepreneurship. So basically, whenever we want to understand what is the business creation process, there are two aspects to this business creation process. One is the idea part, and the second is the execution part. Talking about the business idea, where all of us as scientists or who are being trained as scientists or in the science domain are keen on this particular part of the entire business creation process, where probably we are working on some problem or a need. We don't think so much about it as a customer pain, but yes, that links to the problem that we are trying to understand. And we are also trying to develop a solution to it through our experimental approach in the laboratories. So we are very good at that part of the problem, that part of the business creation process. Moving on further into the business idea creation, we also have to think about how do you want to offer your solution to the customer. The customer, the business part does not go ahead if you do not present it as a product or a service, and if you do not know what is the revenue model around offering this product or a service. So that is also an equally important part of the business idea creation. The second part of the business creation process is the actual execution, about which again we as scientists, as engineers or technical people, we are completely unaware about how to execute our idea. So what goes in the execution part is how do you manage the technology development. So don't get confused between I already have a solution to this problem, but to present it as a product or a service is what goes into developing it as a technology. Then of course you have to validate it. For doing this, you need a team of people. So HR is very, very important. And again, we fall short in building good team members, getting people on board, getting the right people on board for taking our idea ahead to execute our idea. For all these purposes, we need to manage the finances. So money is very, very important. And that's why we are also going to talk about what are the funding opportunities, at least in the initial part of your journey, where the research is done, but you want to now convert it into a product or a service. So managing the finances is equally important. Because this is a deep tech, science tech kind of domain, managing rights, the IP aspect of it is very, very important. So I will just touch upon that, but probably we need to have detailed sessions, and we can do those sessions separately, which will alert all of you regarding the IP related domain. As a business person, you also have to manage the visibility. You have to be good in your communications, and you have to be aware about what is the competition for your product or the service. So managing the visibility, communication, competition is very important. And then very, very important, managing the timing of all these execution parameters is important. Let us also try to understand this risk and reward illustration. So this chart talks about on the x-axis is the time and on the y-axis is the money. So against time, if you think, if you plot the money that you're getting, initially you will be in the negative. Why? Because you'll have to pump in a lot of money to make your idea viable, to push your idea and make, come into the positive part of the graph. So the depth of the hole is what is going to determine how successful your business is. Smaller the depth or quickly you come out of the depth, more successful your business idea will be. Now, what are some perfect business ideas to quickly cross over the depth of the hole? Some perfect business ideas will fall in the painkillers category and not in the vitamins category. Now, why? How do I define these painkillers and vitamins? Painkillers are those, of course, you know, painkillers kill the pain, right? So basically, those kind of ideas which the customer is dying to solve. They want to have the solution at whatever cost, like money-wise or time-wise. They are willing to get that solution at any cost. That kind of ideas will qualify as painkiller ideas. Vitamins are important, but they are good to have kind of business ideas or solutions. So where the customers will not be dying to solve that kind of problems, but they are also equally important problems to solve. So for example, if you have a list of problems, you can prioritize the painkiller kind of business ideas. And then once you're set in your business, then you can take up the vitamins kind of business ideas. Another way of selecting your perfect business idea is some idea which will make money even when you're not actively behind it. So for example, you have products or you have a IP, very strong IP for your product, then that kind of idea where it will anyway make money by because you have a patent filed for your solution. So that will again qualify as a perfect business idea. Somewhere where the customer is ready to pay in advance. So customer is saying, "ये लो पैसा, लेकिन मुझे solution चाहिए जब as soon as it gets developed." Because money is king, cash is king. You have to remember that in the business domain. Another aspect is how you have a sustainable competitive edge. So, for example, you are developing some product for which the raw materials you are completely in control of the raw material by some way. So, for example, you have a very niche kind of supplier who supplies only to you. So you have a complete control on the supply chain for the raw materials so that there is no way that your product is going to get hampered. So that kind of sustainable competitive edge is important. And from investor perspective, if there is clarity on the buyers for the company. So for example, if you want to sell your business, there you have to have clarity on who will be the company, who will be the company will be taking over your business. So if someone is wanting to invest in your business, they need to have clarity on who are the buyers for your company. Another graph which tells you what goes into de-risking your technology and increasing the value of your business. So for example, this graph tells you that as you decrease the risk or the uncertainty, the value of your business goes on increasing. So what are the risks or uncertainty in any science tech business? Technology risk is a very, very important risk. So again, let me clarify. Don't confuse with what you have as solution and what you're going to offer as a product, as a technology product, right? So you have to convert your laboratory experiments into a format which is a product or a service. So for that, you'll have to de-risk it as a technology. So that is the first risk that you have to take care of. Another important risk is people. As I told you, you have to have the right skills on board to take your product ahead into execution. So people is very, very important risk because good people, if you don't treat them well, they will desert you, right? They will not stay with you for a longer period of time and then you will be again stuck. So take care of the people risk to improve the valuation of your business. Next is the financial risk. You have to have a steady inflow of money in terms of funds, in terms of seed investments, say in terms of investors who will be ready to put money in your business. So financials is one risk which is very, very important. Next is the market risk. You have to be very clear on who are the who is the market, what is the market for your product or the service. So if you, even if you develop a very good product, a very good technology, you have a good team on board, your financials are good, but there are no takers for your solution, then you are doomed. So market risk is very important, and you have to think about it well in advance, even before your product is in has been made, right? So that you will save time on your, save your money, save your efforts, save your time on developing that product. If there is no market, do not go for such a product. And last but very important risk is the regulatory risk. Those who are, say, aware about the drug development kind of thing, giving an example from that, several drug molecules are known to fail even in the regulatory phase. So be very aware about the regulatory risk which goes into the development of your product. Again, going back to the business creation process, this earlier part, the idea part, requires a lot of science into it to develop, whereas the other part is the non-science kind of part, but very important part of your business business execution. So this is an iterative process. If there are problems in execution, problems in technology development, you may have to go back and work on the science part of your business. Now let us try to understand the different categories of technology innovations, science startups, what are inventions, so on and so forth. So talking first about technology ideas, there's a problem or a pain that you have identified. There's a solution that you have identified or developed. You put it together and that gives rise to a technology idea, which also may qualify as a jugaad kind of technology idea. Another aspect is invention, when there is novelty in both the problem or the solution or either one of them, then that leads to an invention. And some of us are good at inventions. We are born inventors. So for example, the zip is a very simplistic example of an invention, which is very novel and has novelty in the problem as well as the solution. What is a scientific invention? And some of us are very good at scientific inventions also, where there is novelty in problem or solution, but additionally there are insights from science, right? So penicillin development is a very good example of the scientific invention, where there is a lot of knowledge intensity in developing that invention. And then what is innovation? Because there's a clear difference between invention and innovation. So innovation is taking your invention, the entire journey to the market where your product or the service is in use. So if you can see, we are stuck somewhere here in the invention part of the entire chain, whereas 80% of the work, time, investment goes in actually developing your product and taking it to the market. So that is the innovation journey that you have to travel to become a successful entrepreneur. So those of you want to create social or economic impact using your inventions, you need to travel the rest of the journey to the market, and you need to be ready to invest 80% of your work, time and energy into this entire process. So again, talking about this tech innovation journey, be aware that it is often a marathon and not a sprint, a 100-meter dash. Right? It's a very long journey. You know, marathons are long runs, say of 20 half marathons or full marathons, right? It's a very long journey. Same is the condition with tech innovation journey. So it's not a sprint that you finish the 100 meters and you are successful, right? It's a very long journey. There are many activities involved, many organizations are involved, which will support you in this journey. As R&D institutions, all of you fall in this early stage category where you have identified the problem, probably the solution, and probably little bit of technology development is being tried out. But then if you want to make this leap into the startup journey, then this is where you have to move ahead, gear up your activities, and also tie up with several organizations who will support you to become a large company eventually. So just take a look at the different capabilities which will be required to take your journey till the product is in use. Still more complicating this entire ecosystem, this slide talks about which are the different expertise that you will require to take your product to the market. So in addition to the scientific kind of expertise, where most of you will have the scientific expertise or can bring those scientific expertise on board, but you will also need to be aware about the financials, the legal aspects. You will need professional services for that. You will need entrepreneurs and mentors. You will need regulatory expertise. You will need finance people and venture investors, and of course the different kinds of people, suppliers, business development people, QA, QC experts, so on and so forth. And very importantly, you will also need to use the incubator facilities, because incubators play a very important role in your entire journey. So let me talk about how incubators are important in your journey. Incubators and accelerators, these are two important players in your entire journey. So what do incubators do? They run specific incubation programs which support you as a lonely entrepreneur. And why am I calling you a lonely entrepreneur? Because at least initially, till you show any success, you are lonely in this journey, because you are the only one who will believe that yes, this is my only idea, the best idea in the world, and I am going to be successful. Probably even your friends, family, they will try to tell you, chhod do ye idea, just settle down in a job or something, right? So each and every entrepreneur faces this kind of loneliness in the initial part of the journey, and incubation programs provide a supportive, conducive, encouraging environment to you as an entrepreneur in terms of getting other entrepreneurs who are also facing the similar kind of situation. Some of them are little ahead in the journey because they have joined earlier, so they will keep on sharing their success stories, how they tackled their problems, how they addressed a particular hurdle which was there in their journey, so on and so forth. And then you will know that you are not alone in this journey. There are several people like me, and some of them who have moved ahead in their journey, and you also get a hand holding from them how to take your idea ahead. Second is the incubation programs. They will provide an ecosystem, either their own ecosystem or their extended ecosystem, to fill the gaps in your entire journey. So what are the gaps that they fill? So these are the different kinds of expertise, as I've already told you. They will suggest which are the experts you can consult. You can approach to some technical experts, non-technical experts, as and whatever is required in your entrepreneurial journey. So they will try to fill the gaps in the entire ecosystem. Incubation programs also arrange several networking sessions, events, talks. So they not only train you as an entrepreneur, but also they help you to network with like-minded people, maybe with the same skill sets or different skill sets. And this we call as useful collusions. So you bump into someone who is exactly the person you may need to take your idea ahead, who is having a complementary skill set to what you can bring to your idea, and then you team up together and take things ahead together. So this is another advantage of the incubation program. And of course, at the minimum, what they give is mentoring, referrals, connects, help. They help to point to opportunity windows, help open doors for you where new experts and mentors are easily accessible through the incubation programs. There are physical incubators, there are virtual incubators. Venture Center, we are primarily a physical incubator, but we also have several virtual programs where entrepreneurs like you can be incubated, say in Baramati region, there are incubators in your region, but you can be a virtual incubator at Venture Center where we can offer you lot of referrals, connects. You can access the services that are offered by us as a virtual incubator, or you can relocate to Venture Center and use our hard facilities as a resident incubator. Accelerator programs are programs which are very concise programs. So they will quickly accelerate you from a lower technology readiness level to a higher technology readiness level and make you say ready for investment, so on and so forth, in a short period of time. But they are very focused programs. They are fast-paced programs, and Venture Center has some acceleration programs also which we are offering. So with this background about what is science entrepreneurship, let us have a clarity on certain starting points. If you are keen on entrepreneurship, you need to remember these 4-5 points before you even start about seriously thinking about entrepreneurship. So first thing is have clarity on your business idea. What do I mean by that? You need to understand what is the product or the service offering, not what is my technology. Again, as scientists, because I myself, I'm a scientist by training, I know we fall in love with our science. This is the best scientific solution that I've developed. This is working in the lab. This is how the science behind it is there. I've understood it and I'm making it work. That's fine, right? So it's good for a publication, but nothing beyond that. If you want to go into converting it into a business idea, then you have to think what is the product or the service that my science can get converted into. So think about that. Second important aspect is who needs it? Who are the buyers of this? Who's going to make the purchase decision? How much they will pay? How much they can pay? Do they have the ability to pay for this solution or not? Yeah, so on and so forth. And then very importantly, the value proposition, or you have to develop a differentiation chart. Basically, you need to understand which are the other alternatives, other products or the services in the market which are trying to solve this same problem. So you have to know who are the competitors to your product. Most of us think mine is a unique solution, but that is not the truth. It is not so that no one has addressed. They may not have addressed it in the same way. They may not have the similar product, but currently something must be available. How are people trying to solve that problem currently? Yeah, you need to have some comparative at least. It may be far-fetched, but try to build that differentiation chart, because that will help to bring out your value proposition. What is the value that my product is going to bring? So your pitch should read something like this. The company, that is your company, will deliver such and such product or a service to such and such customer who will choose our product over the competition for these benefits. So what are the benefits or the reasons that the customer will look for? The business model will be so and so. How will you generate money out of that product or the service? The company aims to grow into such and such markets. So it may be Indian markets, it could be global markets, what geographies you are going to target, so on and so forth, and will maintain a competitive edge because of these XYZ reasons. Right? So this is a very, very strong pitch which will immediately attract attention of your funding agencies. The second important aspect is the technology and patents aspect. So this is where I just touch upon the patent aspect. So for example, if this is the entire patent map, your know-how is here somewhere, and then you do a patent landscape, you understand these are the patents which are already there, and this is based on some free prior art. You need to know where exactly you have freedom to operate. So for example, this part of your know-how, there is opportunity that you can file a patent through a patent agency. So for example, Venture Center also has a dedicated team who can offer this entire service, right from landscaping to helping you to understand where there is a possibility of filing a patent, how to draft it, how to file it, complete filing. The entire thing is available, where a team will also support you to defend your patent. Right? But this is an important aspect that you need to appreciate right when you are thinking about entrepreneurship as one opportunity. The third aspect is you have to be comfortable with resourcing. So basically, planning out your project, you have to construct a flow diagram, identify all the steps and stages, try to understand what are the risks or the uncertainties, which we have already talked about earlier. So try to understand where all those risks are there in terms of regulations, in terms of people, in terms of money that you will require, and then set up a proper execution plan for addressing those risks. So this is what is the resourcing or the flow diagram that you have to develop. And last but most important point is the financials, and you have to be comfortable with talking about the money aspects and understanding the money aspects, the income expenditure models, projection of your income, projection of your expenditures, when do you become profitable, what is the rate of return, how do you project the cumulative profit, when do you recoup your investment, so on and so forth. So all these numbers, maybe you yourself need not do it, but at least the CA or the finance guy on your team or the person you are taking help from as an outsourced kind of facility, you can talk to him in intelligent words and try to understand what that person is trying to communicate to you regarding your company's financials. So that much knowledge as a founder or the CEO of your company you should have, and you should be comfortable having that kind of conversation. Now, with these essential points, let me quickly touch upon how Venture Center can support you. So, if some of you have not visited us up till now, encouraging you to visit us physically. We are almost 15 years old now. Lot of credentials we have built to our credit, and the recent one is we have been ranked as the #1 bio incubator in a recent biospectrum survey in 2022. So that's a recent feather in our cap. We focus on these areas broadly. It is science tech, and these are the applications that the science tech technologies we focus on: healthcare, biotech, biomed, energy, environment, sustainability, engineering kind of applications, or even agriculture, food and nutrition, those kind of applications. So almost anything and everything under the science tech domain, except the typical IT kind of solutions like simple app building or e-commerce platforms. That is what we do not want to support, because that doesn't require a very rich ecosystem which we have built here at Venture Center. As I've told you, we are 15 years old. We have already supported 600 plus incubators, 150 plus resident incubators have been on our campus. We are good at spin-off companies. So from your institute, if there is a possibility of a spin-off, we can handhold the institute faculty to go ahead and have their own spin-offs from the institution. We have a highly engaged community of 200 plus mentors. We conduct at least 200 to 50 events every year. Also, we have high touch mentoring, which is focused on science and technology. 85% plus startups in this domain of science tech, which is a very, very difficult domain to survive. They are still surviving in these 15 years. 90% of the startups are at very early stage, where they come to us at the concept, we take them to POC or prototype, and then the rest of the journey. 75% startups are with inventive products, where they have also filed like more than 100 unique families of patents have been filed by our startups through our IP facilitation center. We are also very proud of supporting women entrepreneurs. So we have almost 30% of the startups which are women-led. Most of our startup founders have high degrees. So not only the basic graduations in science, engineering, medicine, but most of them are postgraduates, PhDs, postdocs, also done additionally MBAs and all, not only from Indian universities, but from universities abroad. A lot of impactful funding opportunities our startups have been able to access. So risk capital mobilized in the last 6 years is 500 crores. Revenue generated in the last 5 years is approximately 1,000 crores. It's a huge incubator, so you're free to visit us anytime. We have unique resource centers. We are one of the leading IP facilitation centers in the country. RIFC, that is Regulatory Information Facilitation Center for MedTech products, is another unique resource center, and we have a state-of-the-art scientific and prototyping facilities at Venture Center. So just summarizing the entire ecosystem that is available, we also have strength in tech transfer and IP. So tech transfer is another vertical which can be relevant for you as a academic institution, where the technologies developed in your institutions can be licensed or transferred to industry. Several partnerships have been forged, and we are partners to several national programs in India. So these are the key enabling initiatives. We have a lot of fellowships, launch pads, lab to market programs, student clubs. These are few more programs and other initiatives, some of which I will talk about in the coming slides. Few success stories which are there, first in India kind of success stories, as well as first in world kind of success story in the form of Jeevtronics, which is a dual powered hand crank defibrillator. So defibrillators are machines which will give a shock to the patient who has gone in cardiac arrest. It will help to revive the patient and transfer the patient till the patient reaches a tertiary care facility. So this is the first of its kind in the world, which is a hand cranking mechanism. So we have supported them through and through way back from 2014, where they got their first biotech grant, and then we have supported them, mentored them throughout to raise the next level fundings till date. And a recent story, which I'm not going to talk about the other stories, but one more is the story from my lab, which is the first in India kind of success. My lab was the first CDSCO approved indigenous RT-PCR and antigen testing kit for COVID-19. So they are our incubators, and we have supported them not only from the technical aspects, but also connecting them to some international funding agencies, as well as for the fundraisers via a lot of corporate social responsibility kind of activities. We have success stories out of National Chemical Laboratory and other research institutions in the Pune ecosystem. So these are 10 to 12 startups which have come out of these research institutes. So track record of that and the learnings from these success stories can be shared with the institutes to have such kind of spin-outs. Our incubators at a snapshot, so you can see almost 56% of our incubators are broadly in the health domain, where they are developing solutions in biomed devices, implants, diagnostics, and biopharma, bio-IT kind of applications. We have ICT, electronics, engineering focused startups. We also have clean energy, environment and energy based startups, agro and industrial bio startups. And then we have also a few ecosystem partners who are startups and who support our own startups as well as other startups in the ecosystem by providing complementing services. These are charged services, but they are available to our startups and the ecosystem as an important service which is relevant for the incubation. For their entrepreneurship. So there could be financial services, there could be technical electronics kind of services, so on and so forth. These are our supporting partners. So as you can see, most of them are government agencies, foundations and agency partners. And we have been working with all of them right from the inception. So NCL, National Chemical Laboratory, is our host institute. And of course, there are other agencies who have supported us via different initiatives. These are some of the facility images. So you can see the laboratories, the clean room, which is an important addition for the medtech kind of startups. We have a cell studio, we have different lab spaces, which are shared facilities as well as dedicated facilities. We also have a mass spec facility, which is one of its highly used facilities in the entire venture center. These are a few more other non-technical spaces. So there's a reception area where a lot of discussions keep on happening. There are boardrooms, there are lecture theaters where a lot of events happen. There are conference rooms available not only for us as well as for our incubators. And then we have a very good library also, which is it does not have just the scientific books, but it has the management and the entrepreneurship, that kind of literature also. For the medtech facilities, we have the entire end-to-end support, right from proof of concept to prototyping to trial manufacturing to sterilization and packaging and the testing and regulatory. So we have cell studio, we have a tinkering lab, we have a proto shop, we have VC analytics services, we have a clean room, and we also have the regulatory information facilitation center. So the entire chain is available for if you are in the medtech kind of domain. These are a few more success stories, and I'm not going to talk in detail about those due to the shortage of time. But some of them are from academic institutions. Some are from like just startups who have approached us. So Serigen, Orthocrafts, these are implants kind of startups from NCL, National Chemical Laboratory. Periwinkle is in the bio-IT domain, and they are developing technologies for the IT kind of technologies using their expertise in the IT domain. BioPrime Agri Solutions is one of our leading startups in the agri domain, where they are developing their solutions based on plant breeding technologies. Nobel Exchange, this is one of its first in India. They have developed a 300 million tons of organic waste processing solution, and this plant is located in Talegaon. You must be aware about Talegaon, which is just on the outskirts of Pune Municipal Corporation. So the entire Pune Municipal Corporation organic waste goes to their plant, which is converted into methane gas is one of the byproducts which they sell to the industry, as well as the slurry which is available. It can be used as fertilizers for the by the farmers. So it's one of the successful examples in waste management. Jeevtronics I've already spoken about, where they have developed a hand crank defibrillator. And Nayam Innovations, they have developed a solution of a foldable lens for cataract patients. So it's a very impactful social innovation. They are working closely with a lot of eye hospitals, one of its biggest being the Arvind Eye Care Hospital in South India in Madurai, where they are now in their trial stages, and they have just recently inaugurated their manufacturing facility, which is a big success in their entire journey. And one more example for energy and environment, where Gram Urja is again a socially impactful startup. They work on developing these microgrids, and they have several installations across India. I think they are almost installed in 6 to 7 states in India and in very, very remote locations. So a very impactful innovation in the domain of energy and environment. So these slides anyway talk about the same innovations. This is Erigen Orthocrafts. We also have certain examples from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So this was a entrepreneur who was originally from Jalgaon, and he received a 50 lakhs grant due to our mentoring and advisory from the Biotech Ignition grant from BIRAC. So he has developed a kit for chikungunya, and that is in the commercial phases right now. He's from Aurangabad, this applicant, and he also got the 50 lakhs grant of Biotech Ignition grant. So my colleague Dr. Smita is going to talk about the grant writing, particularly to have a success story to or be successful in securing the BIG kind of grants. So please pay attention to what are the pointers that she is giving in grant writing. So because we do have success stories not only from tier 1 cities but tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. Kolhapur is another success story where Prasad Rote has received the 50 lakhs grant. He is still incubated at Venture Center and is successfully marketing his products. He's developing novel media for biopharma companies. So now with this, let me now move quickly into the funding opportunities as the last leg of my talk. Again, mapping the entire domain from your idea to the product in use. So you go from idea to proof of concept to prototype demonstration to rights trials to commercial production, and the product is in use. And this is the entire funding landscape which is currently available. So earlier it was just the 3 Fs, that is friends, families and fools who may probably invest in your idea. And then there was a big gap till the VCs came in, that's the venture capitalist came in. Now fortunately, because of several mostly the government grants and few CSR kind of grants, this landscape is kind of filled up. So I'm going to particularly talk about the funding opportunities which we have marked in red here, and these are mainly in the early stage where you have proven the research and now you want to make the jump into the entrepreneurial ecosystem where you want proof of concept and prototype demonstration kind of funds. So those will be available. We are partners to these funds, and we would be helping to mentor you to make your application successful. Let me start with the domain which I handle particularly, which is the social innovations domain. So this is the social innovations vertical at Venture Center, and we have a flagship program called the Social Innovation Tech Fellowship Program, which is supported by BIRAC. So this we have completed 4 cohorts, and the 5th cohort is currently on. The first cohort was on maternal and child health, and we have 2 success stories out of it, where the fellows have been able to raise the 50 lakhs grant from BIG, as well as their startups are created. They are now quite ahead in their journey because this was in 2015 and 2016 that they moved, completed their social innovation immersion program. And this startup, the Spot Sense, startup's name is Spot Sense, and now she's come back to us with the seed investment. So we have invested in Amrita's company, and she's our seed investee now. This was the second cohort in 2017-18, where there were 4 fellows who were able to raise the next level of funding. 3 startups have been created out of their work, and they are taking their journeys ahead via several other grants now. The third cohort was around elderly technologies. So we have 2 startups out of that and a design registration coming out of this particular cohort. So Anatomic and Rethink are the 2 startups. They're still incubated with us, and we have helped them to raise next level funding beyond the social innovation program. The recent cohort which graduated in 2022 in March, so we have 2 startups and a trademark registration out of that. Also, one of the entrepreneur, he has raised the 50 lakhs grant, and another entrepreneur was able to raise 14 lakhs grant beyond the fellowship program. So this fellowship program supports you to the tune of 50,000 fellowship every month, plus a kickstart grant of 5 lakh rupees. So the current cohort is on Agritech, and we have 4 fellows who have just started their journey with us. They are currently visiting several farmers or agriculture kind of field areas where they are trying to identify the problem via their immersions, which we call, where they're visiting the problems firsthand and trying to understand which is the problem they have to pick up to develop a technology solution. So they are just 2 months old with us, and they have just started their journey with us. So these are my coordinates, and you can reach out to me anytime. My details are there with Dr. Borse. So please feel free to use my email address as well as the WhatsApp number, which is shown here, to know more about the social innovation vertical particularly, or anything else that Venture Center offers. Another fellowship program which my colleague Amrita Gore leads, her coordinates are given here. The last call closed in June, and the next call will come tentatively in August 2022. So please look out for the announcement of this call. And if you sign up for our emailer, then we will anyway communicate to you whenever the call opens. So this is an entrepreneur in residence program. It is a 1 year long support fellowship program of up to 30,000 rupees per month. And you will receive mentoring for improving your business plan, doing your market research, validating your idea, and doing little bit of experimentation to make it viable to pitch for the next level funding. Another program which Amrita leads again, the call is going to open in August 2022 again, and this is the Prayas grant, which is a prototyping grant. So after EIR, you can also pitch for Prayas, and you can actually do the prototyping to develop your product in the second year. This is a seed fund call, which is now open throughout the year. So this will come much little later in your journey. But let me just share the coordinates of my teammate Shruti Devastari. So her contact email address is given here, and you can reach out to her. The website details are also available with us, and you can reach out to look up to the details for the LEAP fund, the seed fund, and the needy seed support system. This is a call which is particularly relevant for the academic institutions. The deadline is 31st July, which is literally the coming Sunday. But don't worry, the next call opens on 15th of October, and we will provide you mentoring if any of your faculty are interested to pitch for the academic innovation research application or the contract research scheme. You will need an industry counterpart for these kind of applications. So if you think you have an innovation which can be relevant to the industry, you should pitch for these calls as a faculty from an institute. And the last but important call, which is currently open, is the Biotech Ignition Grant call. My colleague will talk in details about how to write the grant proposal, but I'll just briefly touch upon what is the Biotech Ignition Grant, that is BIG. The call has been opened from 1st of July and will be open till 16th of August, closing at 5:30 p.m. So this is a 50 lakhs funding assistance available as grant in aid from BIRAC, that is the DBT counterpart. There are several BIG partners, and of course, Venture Center is a BIG partner. So you're free to take up anyone as your partner. We are also very close to you, so you can incubate anywhere, but you can choose us as the BIG partner. So it is a 50 lakhs grant for 18 months. Funding is available for startups as well as for individuals. So even if you do not have a startup right away, you can pitch in, you can apply as an individual. The grant will help you to foster generation of ideas with commercialization potential. It also helps you to support innovative ideas to establish proof of concept or upscale and validate your proof of concept, and also stimulates enterprise formation. So what is supported is clearly mentioned in the grant guidelines. Technology objectives, establishing or validating POC, tech de-risking, scientific data to demonstrate idea to licensors if you want to create that scientific data, or you want to translate your ideas into commercially viable products or technologies to address an unmet social need. So that is where, that is what is covered or supported by BIG. What is not supported is exploratory kind of research. It is a PhD student research. There are no plans for tech development, products or surveys. There's no novelty. There are a lot of ethical and environment health risks. There's no commercialization potential. You want to do clinical trials because BIRAC has specific funds or specific programs for supporting clinical trials. So we do not apply for BIG if your idea is in the clinical trial stage. So that is not supported. Funding is in the form of grant in aid. There is also royalty and tech transfer fee clauses which have been added from the 16th call, and right now I think we are in the 21st call of BIG. What you get from us as a BIG partner is mentoring, advisory, referrals, support. You also benefit from learning, visibility and networking events which BIRAC as well as we as BIG partners organize, and you get an opportunity to get your ideas evaluated by experts because the reviewers round is the first round. What are the areas that are supported under BIG? So broadly it is healthcare and biotech, medtech, industrial product and processes. Agriculture is a big domain which is supported, and then there are others such as bio-IT kind of interfaces, bioinformatics, analytical methods, any new techniques that you're developing, even those get a support. These are few themes and sub-themes. So these are broadly the themes, and then there are several sub-themes like diagnostics, drugs, regenerative medicines, medical devices. In agriculture, there are a lot of sub-themes. In industrial biotechnology, several things are mentioned. Waste management, sanitation, bioenergy. These are few more sub-themes. And then, of course, the big data and data analytics domain is there. So broadly, this is the BIG process flow. There's a national call which is already open, as I told you. There is a eligibility check after the deadline. Eligibility check followed by a preliminary screening committee, followed by an online review. Then the technology evaluation panel is there, where you get to present for the first time, and then the final decision is made by a committee, the final committee in Delhi, by the BIRAC experts, followed by the due diligence by us as a partners because we are the BIG partner, and then finally the funds are released. So this entire cycle takes approximately 2 to 2.5 months. There are exits at each of these where you can get knocked off at each of these stages. So be aware, it's a very, very competitive program. Eligibility wise, startups as well as individuals are allowed to pitch. If you're a startup, you have to be up to 5 years old as a registered company. 51% ownership is by resident Indian citizens, and the project leader should be committed to take this product to completion. If you have a functional R&D lab, that is well and good, or you can get associated with an BIRAC approved incubator, the list of which is available on their website. As an individual, you have to be incubated with a technology business incubator. So you can choose us or any other incubator which is approved for incubation by BIRAC in your locality. And as a partner, you can choose us to submit your application and to start with, get mentoring for your application. The project leader needs to carry out the project full time, and if you are from an organization, from an academic institution, there should be a possibility of faculty spin-offs from your organization. So we can help you to put those policies in place also at your institution. This is for faculty entrepreneurs. Incubators are important because you get a dedicated physical facility to do your scientific experiments. You also get mentoring, advisory. Also formal long-term approvals are needed for the incubator, and letter of interest or a MOU from incubator is required before you get the final approval. Final approval in the sense during the due diligence. So even if you do not have a LOI right now, you can use us as the incubator, and get an LOI or MOU when you actually become successful. So before the final approval, you have to submit the letter of support to BIRAC. Your chosen incubator may or may not be your BIG partner. So as I'm telling you, we can be your BIG partner, but your incubator could be some other incubator which is convenient to you from your geography. These are the evaluation criteria, and my colleague will touch upon them, where the unmet need, business perspective, value proposition, technical viability, team strength is very important, strategy to overcome challenges, and the BIG project plan is very, very important. She will be talking about the tips and pointers, but just pay attention to the proof of concept nature, work on your concept note very, very diligently, and the goals should be such that they're achievable in 18 months and can be completed in the 50 lakhs, that is the funding that is available. So your objectives and work plan should also be put down very, very clearly, because against each objective, it is evaluated, and after the completion of that objective, the next tranche will be released. So Dr. Smita Kale will also touch upon the objectives and the work plan, how the project milestones have to be designed. She will again touch upon that. The budget breakup, so be aware about the caps. The equipment budget head has a cap of 30%, manpower budget has a cap of 30%, and external or outsourced resources has a cap of 30%. This is the BIG success rate. So if you focus on the first row, so where the applications received are continuously increasing, but the number of funds received or disbursed, the grants received, is more or less stable, or in fact has gone a little bit down. So it has become very, very competitive, and the success rate is very low. Fortunately for you, Venture Center has a good conversion rate from application to actual funds disbursed. These are few success stories out of BIG. So this is also an NCL startup, Serigen. This is another success story. So Shubham was a social innovation fellow with us. He started his journey with us, and then he also successfully got the BIG grant. KB Calls is a startup out of Institute of Chemical Technology. So both of them are ICT graduates, PhD from ICT, and they have a startup which is developing natural biopigments, sustainable solution. This is another startup out of BIG which has been successful, and they have recently signed a MOU just yesterday with the Defense Ministry also. So they are going in a big way with the Defense Ministry now. This is one more startup. Lot of media coverage is there, and this is an agri startup which is getting good media coverage. So these are few more grantees which about whom we do showcase at a regular interval from our social media websites. Another product showcased here, which is a BIG grantee. Our BIG team has 3 verticals. We have applications and contracts team, and a mentoring team, and a project management team, which work independently of each other. So Dr. Smita Kale, who mentors for BIG, she herself is a mentor, so she will give you good inputs on how to write a successful grant proposal for BIG. And of course, our director, Dr. Premina, he is also a mentor for BIG. So you will be listening to Dr. Smita Kale today, just after this session. So this is the BIG team. Feel free to approach them with a concept note, and they can line up the mentoring with Dr. Smita Kale for you for this BIG call, which is currently open. Now with this, all this background, you must be wondering, where do I start? At the minimum. What do we have at the minimum is the Ignition membership. It's 1,000 rupees annual membership, where you get at the basic level just mentoring, which is available to us as available to you as a student or a faculty, to see if your idea is viable for a business grant, to develop your idea, and then go ahead and pitch for funding proposals like BIG and other funding proposals. So it's a one year fellowship, 1 year membership which is available via our Ignition program. Memberships are open throughout the year. So this is the link to our membership for Ignition grant. feel free to write to Dr. Smita Kale, who leads the admission membership program. And I have also indicated about the incubation practice school, and this is for uh, uh, you as a faculty or a institute, where if you want to strengthen your incubation cell, this session which is currently being organized via your incubation cell, if you want to strengthen them, you can become part of our incubation practice school, where we give you insights and best practices from us as one of the pioneer incubators in the country, and we can share our learnings with your institute to make your journey much more easier. Do follow us on our social media handles. We are also on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where most of our sessions are available as a free content. And do follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Tag us, share photos, experiences from this session, and do remember to tag us when you share those. So that is all from my end. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mugdha madam. It was really an excellent presentation. Maybe the students might have got an idea that somewhere near 100 kilometers away from their college, we have some institute who is working on such kind of things, or who has mentored so many companies so that the technologies or the products could be generated. So it's kind of an eye-opening for maybe all of us. And one example, what you quoted about my lab, as an institute, we are also proud that one of our alumni, Dr. Shrikant Pawar, he is a key player of this test kit what you are talking about.
Wow, very nice.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So maybe the students should take that as an motivation, that the students from Vidya Pratishthan can also do something. Okay. So we have a crowd of part one, that is first year MSc students, means from all the background, that is chemistry, zoology, biotechnology. Few of them, they are from the computer science. So it's an time for this student to learn these kind of things, so that whatever the ideas that come to their mind, they should be able to conceive that particular idea and think of some technology which can be developed. But the problem is what, that last week also we had some sessions on IPR. That is, we got an insight from Dr. Nishad Deshpande, you might be aware of. So he has given some insights about the whole things about IPR. Then we have the second session on Dr. T. Pawan Kumar from Bhubaneswar. I think he knows you. He said me that.
He has been part of our AIM Prime program, and recently, so Dr. Smita is here. So they had gone for a detailed city camp to Bhubaneswar.
Okay.
Dr. Pawan Kumar was also part of that.
So he told me to send you the regards. So
Yeah.
We had a talk. So he also gave many hints or some points that how to develop an idea. But so these things become an bombarding to the student, because recently they have completed their exams also. So in a nutshell or in a simple language, can you please tell them that along with their academics, what they are learning, how they can build up, or how the ideas what they have in your mind, how it can be generated, or how it can be correlated with some societal importance. So maybe a few things in a very simple language, can you just tell them? I think that will help students to think upon it, and maybe the second year what the projects what they are going to do could be of that kind of thing.
Yeah. So what we can do is, as I was also suggesting, we can have a mentoring session also separately, where they can probably discuss with us what projects they have in mind, and then we can guide them on which project they can take, which will get converted into, say, BIG kind of applications or the funding programs, which I have also said. So we can start from there, where preliminary we can have a short discussion on what do they have in mind, and then we can guide them, like instead of this, can you tweak your project in such a way that it has a commercial potential. So the MSc project can be tailored to generate some very early stage data, say, which is relevant from BIG perspective. So Dr. Smita can give her inputs on what kind of project they can take, or I can give them inputs on some social relevance that they can focus on. So that kind of mentoring is what is actually going to help them, I feel.
No, the thing is what that this student, they have now a reason that they are the COVID batch. And they have not learned many things. They have not done practically. And that's why these students, they come back to us. Sir, you only suggest us some project. So the thinking power, how to develop that thinking power could be one of the things which we'll have to work on.
Right.
Fine.
So
Yeah, any
we
questions?
have some problem areas by our TechX team also, right?
Yes.
We have industry problems available with us. So if you
Okay.
want, we can share those with the students, and students can then think about different solutions on, they can pick up one of the problem from there. And so we have a compilation of industry problems where industry is looking for some solutions.
Okay, so that could be a good thing. So if you have such kind of things, please share with us so that we can
Yes, sure.
put it forward. We are also thinking of starting some ideathons or hackathons. So these ideas can be put up on that, and the students can help us.
Sure.
Yeah. Any questions from the audience, students? Please. Whatever may be the simple inquiry, you can just put it on. You can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Or you can type it down in the chat box so that we can ask the question.
How does a student approach the venture center?
Yeah, so as I was sharing, we have at the basic minimum a ignition program, and Dr. Smita Kale again leads that program. So the applications are open throughout. I will share the application link with Dr. Borse, and maybe you can apply for that program and start some mentoring sessions with us as a starting point.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. We have few faculty from Department of Chemistry, Department of Commerce, Department of Electronics. So I request them, if they have any things to be cleared, they can raise the questions.
Good morning, everyone. I
Yeah.
have a just question. I'm Dr. Mangesh Kolkar from Department of Electronics.
Okay.
I have a design for 100 watt of inverters, which are working probably in a solar, off-grid solar. So can
Okay.
we have that particular innovation, which can be able to use to run for a vendors, like they are having the very small shops, or they are having the cart on that they install the fruits, and they have that fruit juices. So we can have that 100 watt or 125 watt solar inverter over there, where they can install it on the top solar panel, and they can run a mixie, which is called as near about 60 to 70 watt, so that we can cover the electricity problem. Suppose that and cart does not have any electricity problem, so he has to carry some the electricity from somewhere, and he has to install it over there, and he has to pay for it. So I have a better solution for that. If we have 100 or 125 watt this particular solar system that can efficiently work over there, and that can have an innovative product, which is a design based. I have made it, but now I have to go a little bit forward to have a DC solar DC mixing of having less than 100 watt, or less than, I'll say that 60 watt. That will be sufficient for me. For that, it will need near about a large scale of amount of money, which will be needed to develop the prototypes, as well as it has been have to a trial for at least 1 year somewhere in the all areas of the. So we need to make at least 100 prototypes, and we have to distribute at the different types of in the states, and we have to get the feedback for that. So can we have that particular funding, which can like anything? I think that we have
So currently this a CSR grant is open, which is focused around energy kind of solutions. So maybe I will share the link for the application. I think it was open till July.
Yeah, it was open, but Yeah, but it should be deployable things.
Yeah, so he says that you can make 100 prototypes.
So your one prototype you have already demonstrated, na?
I have one prototype.
Ah.
I already made the design. I have it. I need to design a small mixie, which is called as 100 less than 65 watt. So it takes an energy less than 65 watt. We make a print or something like that.
Yeah, so for you probably in my presentation I have indicated that the Prayas applications will open, Prayas grant applications will open next month. So keep an eye on that application as soon as it opens. This grant of 10 lakhs is available through Prayas from the Department of Science and Technology. And maybe you can pitch for that and see if you get through, then you will get the grant support.
Yeah. If you have not got my idea, let me share it over here once again.
No, what we will do is, yeah, we've got your idea. I will share the application details with Dr. Bose, who can share it again with you.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we'll stop here, Dr. Bose, and hand it over to Dr. Kale.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it would do. We also have with us Dr. Rajesh Sharma, the head department of biotechnology, who has 2 patents on his name.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, before we start the next session, we'd like to thank Mugdha madam.
Formally, we are very thankful to Dr. Mugdha Lele ma'am for taking so much of time and for explaining all the details of what exactly the Venture Center is and how it helps the students to ignite their minds and to work up with their ideas and take it up till the ventures of entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, ma'am. And as you rightly said, so we would be definitely planning for the next event from us towards the mentoring. So I think we would immediately plan for it as early as possible once the students come out, the undergraduates who are at present with the examination system. So once they are through, I think for all the students put together under one umbrella, we can have a huge online series like this for mentoring. So again, maybe we would be looking forward to both of you. So for another one huge mentoring session. Thank you so much, Dr. Mugdha, for giving us all the glimpses of what exactly your venture center is. And I think we, as Borse sir has rightly said, so through my lab, we also have Mulani, who is a student alumni from our own college. So we are very proud to be associated with my lab as our alumni students. So we will have many such success stories in future. So I thank Dr. Mugdha for taking her precious time out and for sharing so many details with us about your venture center. Thank you once again, ma'am. And I also take this opportunity to welcome our second speaker without wasting much time, Dr. Smita Kale, who will be speaking about developing idea and the thought process with more specificity on grant writing for funding your startup idea. Dr. Smita Kale is the manager at the Bio Incubator of Venture Center Pune. And ma'am, as Mugdha ma'am has said, that she would be giving us more details about whatever things were left and to be elaborated, like many of the nits and grits of how to put up a grant for a startup and the entire procedure part of it. And I would like to introduce in a more detailed manner Dr. Smita Kale, who is a part of the incubation team, facilities incubator operations. And she is associated with interacting with many incubatees. And she's also part of establishing the infrastructure and the facilities creation and development of the ecosystem at the Venture Center. She's leading with the Bio-Incubation Activity Center for Biopharma Analysis and BRAC's Regional Bioinnovation Center, that is BRBC projects at the Venture Center. She is actively involved in mentoring startups at Venture Center. She is a PhD basically in pharmaceutical chemistry from IICT, that is Institute of Chemical Technology, ICT, sorry. Mumbai, and prior to joining Venture Center, she had academic experience of 12 years, which includes even research experience of 3.5 years. So thank you so much, ma'am, for taking your time out and for speaking to our students who are budding with their ideas. But we would definitely make sure that with your Venture Center in collaboration with us during this Golden Jubilee, we will make it to the startup. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us this opportunity to interact with your Venture Center, which I think will take us a long way ahead with many more such activities to be taken up in future. Thank you so much, ma'am. On behalf of Vidya Pratishthan, Dr. Bharat Shinde, Dr. Lala Saheb Kashif, I welcome you once again. So I request you to kindly take over. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the kind introduction and invitation. I'll just share my screen and then we can get started. So can you all see the presentation in full screen mode?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So Mugdha spoke about, the different funding opportunities and how Venture Center can help you tap these opportunities. So whenever you are looking at different funding opportunities and you want to submit a proposal to these funding agencies, you need to make a proposal, and there where the skill of writing that proposal or grant, which we call the money which we are asking for, grant and aid. So that skill comes into the picture. So let's understand what are the best practices. So every one of us have an idea, and but that idea to get materialized, to get a funding, we need to convert that idea into a proposal which is fundable. And how to do that is something I'll be talking about in next 1 hour. So when we talk about grant writing, it is not only about writing, but more of it, almost 80% is planning, thinking about it, and then actually 20% goes into actual writing. So what we need to plan here is, why do we need the money? For what project? So your project could be a very big project. Okay, finally I want to launch my product in the market. But for that broad goal which you have, you will have different small projects to be completed. And each small project can then be funded through different funding agency and their grants. Your whole big project will not be funded at one time. So if you must have seen the funding landscape slide by Mugdha there, if you need total say 10 CR for launching the product in market in next 5 years, then you will not be raising the 10 CR on day one. You will start raising from say 5 lakhs, then 50 lakhs, then 1 CR, then another 1 CR. That's how you do. So these are different projects you will complete and move towards your technology development, and finally complete that broad goal. So every time, which small project, how much you need, the money you need, and which funding agency or the funds which she talked about, which will be relevant for that project, to support that project. What are the timelines? How much the whole process takes, right from submitting the application to getting the results, then after that the actual due diligence and release of the money, and then the project period. So all those timelines also one needs to consider. And then the team who will work on it. So there will be two parts in the team. You will have some people who will be full-time, and some people who will be there as advisors or mentors, who will contribute some time. But what they bring to the table is their rich experience. So some tips, pointers which will be really useful for you, which you may not know because you are not that experienced in that field, you're just beginning. So you need to learn from them and then plan your work ahead. So grant writing is 80% planning and 20% writing. And when that funding will get realized, only when your interest and the interest of the funding agency, they both have an alignment, they match, then only the funding will get realized. And we need to understand that when we are talking about grants, grant is grant in aid. So it's not a loan by a bank, where the funding agency is asking you to return the amount along with interest. Okay, they are not asking you to return the amount, but what they are asking you in return is to complete certain defined tasks and activities which you have proposed in your proposal. So grants is actually an opportunity for both the funding agency and the person who is asking for the funds to address a common problem. So there is a common need which we have identified, a common problem towards which that's a community concern, and towards which we both want to work and solve it. So we need to understand this very clearly, that when we are asking for any grant, when we are writing a project, and if we get it, then it's a big responsibility. Okay, being funded, that you must use the government money carefully with responsibility to complete the work which you plan to do with lot of diligence and with honesty, and report the results as you get. So that is how you need to think and get oriented towards the grants and the different opportunities which are available. So grant writing is you're making a proposal, a document, and that document you will be submitting to the funding agency. So before you actually start working on that document, you must read the scheme document guidelines very, very carefully. Why? Because you really need to understand what is the eligibility criteria, what is the scope of that funding agency, what is supported, what is not supported, which are the different themes or areas they are supporting, whether my project falls into that area, what are the different terms and conditions there. I should first understand that very carefully, then I should start preparing the document. Also, very important thing which you can do is you research your funder. Okay, so you try to find out, go to their website, what kind of projects they have funded before. In the same call or last call, what kind of projects have been funded? Or who are those people? Can you connect with them over LinkedIn? Or can you connect with TBIs like Venture Center, who are implementation partners of many of these funding opportunities, and talk to us and understand that, this is the idea I am thinking of applying for this particular funds. So whether this will be suitable, do they fund these kind of projects? So this is how you can research your funder before actually making your application. So reading the scheme documents and guidelines carefully is a must and mandatory. So once you have read the scheme document, try to have a simple checklist for yourself, that what all they have asked, whether do I have that, or if I don't have that, or if you have some questions.
I have a request. That presentation is not visible.
Oh, is it same for everyone?
Yes. We thought you are simply talking.
Oh, no. I had presented. Just give me a minute. I'll again share.
Only your screen is visible. It's not the presentation.
Oh, okay. I didn't share the whole screen. Oh, so you all didn't see the slides at all. Now can you see the slides?
Yeah, now it is visible.
So I'll just go back then. So
Yes.
did you see this first slide?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry for that. Maybe you should have interrupted at that moment itself. Not an issue. I'll just scroll down and show you the slides, whatever I was talking about.
Okay.
So this was when I was saying that 80% planning and 20% writing. Grants, as I said, that it's an opportunity for funding agency and the person who's getting the funds to address a common problem faced by the community, and then research your funder, read the scheme document guidelines carefully, and then now we are on this slide. So I hope it's visible to everyone now, the checklist slide.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So once we have read the scheme document and guidelines carefully, what we should do is we should make a checklist, that what are the different questions they have asked. Do I have all that data, documents with me? If not, I can think if I can get that, or if I have some questions, queries, then who is the concerned person in that funding agency, if it is Department of Science and Technology, DPT, whom I should write to or call and ask those queries. So that is something I should be knowing. Then, as I said, you research your funder, try to find out who has been previously funded. So you understand that what is exactly they are looking for, which areas, whether my project fits and suits the guidelines, whatever they are asking, what is the whole selection process, timelines, whether I am eligible or not, what are the different terms and conditions. So try to make a simple checklist after you have read those guidelines document, because sometimes those requests for proposals or scheme documents, these will be say 50 or 60 pages document. So you may not be able to, read all 50, 60 pages again and again. So why not make some short notes from it and a checklist kind of thing, and then refer to it whenever required. So this proposal document is kind of a document you're preparing where you are asking for funds, maybe to get resources like hire people, manpower, get some space, get some equipment to carry out your R&D, your work, make your prototype. So you want dedicated resources for your own project. So when we are preparing this proposal document, one thing which we need to keep in mind is this is not a technical research project. Most of these funding agencies actually support ideas which can be commercialized, which can go to market. So there we need to prepare the document as if we are trying to make a marketing document. So this is more of a marketing document rather than a research project kind of a document, because we are trying to sell our dream, our idea. We are trying to convince the reader that yes, this can be done, so you have to invest in it, and try to make it easy for the reviewer. Right from your title to whatever content you are including in the application, don't use very high technical words which people can't understand, or don't make it complicated. Use simple short sentences which are easy to understand, and there should be a good flow in the whole proposal. So these are typically the different components in any grant application or proposal you be writing. So they'll ask you what is the goal or objective, what do you want to do, and then why do you want to do. So what's the rationale behind it, what impact it will have, what is the big problem you are trying to solve. Then how will you measure whether you have achieved it, what will be the outcome, how will you show the results, and how can I evaluate that you have achieved it. So will there be some quantitative evaluation acceptance criteria in the outcomes? What will be the method, how will you do it? So if you really are very serious about the project, then you will really spend good amount of time in making your work plan, how to actually achieve it. You will pay attention to each and every detail of any small experiment activity which is required to do it. Okay. Budget. So the budget, how much it will cost you, will come from what is your work plan, what is your methodology. Then what are the timelines, how long the whole process of the funding agency as well as your work plan is going to take. Evaluation. So many a times, there are evaluation criteria which are mentioned in the scheme document of the funding agency, and then this evaluation is about your outcomes. How will you evaluate whether you have met your goal or not? So you will set some targets for yourself, and whether you have achieved those targets or not, that is how you will evaluate your project. Very, very important, team credibility. Why you? Why should I support you and your research project? So what is your background? Why are you credible? Have you done it before? So all this is something we will have to explain. So typically these will be the sections in any grant proposal you are applying for. So how should we start doing it? So try to first develop an outline. So try to identify, okay, which are the different components? Okay, these are the different sections. So what can I broadly include in all these sections? So I can have some points, okay, why I am doing it. So 1, 2, 3, methods 1, 2, 3, like that. And then I will elaborate them in my proposal. And always have a second person who reads your application and who is helping you. So you need to work as a team, but one person needs to take the responsibility of actually coordinating the whole proposal and leading it and finally putting it together. So let's talk about each component of the proposal. So the first one, there will be title. Okay. So title is very important because that is something I am going to read first. When the proposal comes to me, I first read the title. So title is something which is going to reflect what are you going to do. It falls into which area. And based on your title, sometimes, the people who are going to evaluate, they select who should be the reviewer for your title. So make sure your title is clear, crisp, short, and it has all the keywords. You all understand keywords. So whenever we write a research publication, there are some keywords. And those are the keywords which are used to search for that kind of work or expertise or area. So include those keywords to make it friendly for the funding agency, and keep it short and specific, because this is something which is going to draw the first attention of anyone who's going to read your proposal. After the title comes the summary or an abstract of what all is your proposal about. So a short summary, but that is going to create the big picture. So you have to again very carefully write down your summary. So all these key elements, okay, all these key elements, if you can have one statement of each in your summary abstract, that will be really good. So you have to convey through your summary what is the total impact you are creating. Never use first person, don't say I will be doing this, I plan to do this. You can always say the team or we. Okay, so avoid use of first person. And this is a standalone description of your project summary. Okay, sometimes only the title and summary will first go to a reviewer, and then they'll select based on it, and then they'll read the whole proposal. So make sure that it covers all the key elements of your proposal. Next part is the goal and the objectives. So here there are two terms. Goal is comparatively a broader term, but objectives are very specific. Okay, so you will have a broad goal, that is the main project which I was talking about, to take a particular product to market. That is your broader goal. But to achieve that, you will have certain small objectives, milestones. Okay, and those objectives need to be SMART. So we all know about SMART objectives, that is they can be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound or timely. So what do we mean by specific is, I will not just say in general that, say suppose if I have to take an example, that if I am developing a diagnostic device to detect the blood glucose at home, then to be very specific, I will specify that how much is the accuracy of that device which I am targeting. Okay, so likewise, it has to be specific, it has to be measurable. So if you can use quantifiable terms, that whatever product I am making, if I say that it will be less costly, I am making something which is affordable. Instead of that, if I can say that it will be 10x times less costly, or it will be 10x times lesser costlier than whatever is existing in the market. So I at least get an idea that, okay, how much less? 10x at least. Because initially I may not come up with the correct pricing. Pricing might change, but some quantitative terms, try to use them for your objectives as well as for your outcomes. Okay. So objectives really need to be realistic. So what do we mean by realistic is, I said that our broad project, we are dividing into small projects which are going to be supported by different funds. Say we start the project with a fellowship program, then we develop some proof of concept, then we apply for a bigger grant, there maybe we validate the POC. After we have validated the POC, we apply for another bigger grant to make the prototype, to scale it, okay, like this. So every time there is a time, all projects are time bound. So if I am giving you a fellowship for 1 year, you cannot say that in that 1 year you will do end to end and complete the whole project of taking it to market. That is not possible. So you have to be realistic that what can be achieved in that 1 year, and that is what you should include in your work plan and should be your objective. So you have to be realistic. What is really achievable with that period and that amount of funding is what you should be including in your proposal. Now comes what is the problem you are trying to solve. So all these ideas, good ideas which we have are to solve a certain problem, a common problem, an unmet need. So how to present it? So it's very important how you present your idea also. So when you're stating the problem, be very effective and again very precise and specific. And what you can do is you can take data which is available from publications, reports, cite the evidences, illustrate with example of graphs, charts, and you can narrate or add some quotes from community perception about that particular problem. All this information you will get. So for just to give you one example how to make it precise and specific, if the same project I talk about where I'm trying to develop a diagnostic for diabetes, and if I have to explain my problem statement, so instead of talking about what is diabetes, how diabetes occurrence is in India and all over the world, then what are the problems caused by diabetes. So usually what happens is we try to start our introduction of the proposal in this way. Instead of that, I will keep it very specific. I will only talk about how the diagnosis of diabetes is done. And then what are the problems there? Right now, whatever is being used conventionally to detect blood glucose at home or in hospitals, what is the problem there with the, say, accuracy of the equipment or sensitivity or the ease of use? And that is a problem which I have identified and I want to solve. So there will be, solutions already available for a particular problem, but then you need to justify that what is the gap there, or what are the problems which still exist with the current solutions which you are trying to overcome with your solution. So that is something you can highlight, okay? And once you have explained the problem, next comes is what is your solution? What are you proposing? So what are you proposing? You can split it into two parts. One is you just broadly talk about the features of your product. If possible, try to include an image. Try to include images, flowcharts, because it really helps to understand. Once I visualize, say for example, till now I was telling you that I am developing a product to detect the blood glucose levels at home. So, I was repeatedly telling you, but once you see this, maybe this gave you more clarity and you could really visualize how the product will look like and will be used. For example, this gives me a clarity that this is how the device will look like. I will have a needle or a lancet with it, with which one needs to prick the finger, place a blood drop on this kind of a strip. The strip will go inside and I will get the glucose level as a digital display over here. So the image speaks a lot about your features of the product, and you also get to know that maybe, okay, I will have to pay once to buy the device, but I will have to keep buying the this lancet and strips again. Okay, so that is a recurring consumable, but this is a one-time purchase. So all this idea one gets looking at the image, so try to include that and list the key features. And then in the next slide, you can explain the technology behind it. So what do I mean by the technology behind it is, what is the sensor inside this device? What is the biochemical reaction which is happening between the glucose and that sensor? How it is detecting the glucose? Up to what sensitivity? And what all is there inside that I can talk about in the underlying technology. Next very important part is novelty and IP. So most of the funding agencies, one of the criteria they will expect is whether you have some novel thing, whether it is something new which you are doing. So how do you prove that? So either if you already have a patent or you have filed for a patent, so when we are filing for a patent, we do a prior art search. That is, we look at different patents in the same area and we make sure that no one has done it and we are doing it for the first time. So we have assured of the freedom to operate in that particular area. So if we have done that, very good. If not, then we should be doing it. Otherwise, what happens is, after having worked for 3 to 4 years, spent our resources and time, if we realize that this has already been done, and if there are some, there could be even patent infringement if people find out you are repeating the same thing. Just to avoid all this, it's always good to do a good patent landscaping and study the different patents which are already reported and make sure that we don't repeat the same thing, but we do something which is required and which is new and improve on it. So novelty, how do we write that novelty section in the proposal? That is very important. These kind of parameters, like it is cost effective, point of care, very rapid, very user friendly. We should avoid using these terms when we are explaining novelty, because novelty here we need to talk about the technology here. So more technical claims which actually go into your patents. So if you have drafted a patent, you know that there will be some technical claims and that will be based on your technology. So try to include those in the novelty section here. And the novelty will also come from the competitive landscape, that what is the competitive edge you have over your competitors. So this is usually in a BIG proposal, we tell people to present it in this simple manner, where there is a color coding here if you see. So in this simple table, what we have done is, in the first column there are parameters. Okay, so I will identify few parameters against which I can check the performance of my product and the competitor product. So in the first column, it's all parameters. Second column, it's proposed technology, that is say my technology, my product. And then competitor 1, 2, and 3. And then I can compare based on say mode of execution, ease of use, say time, how much time it takes for detection. In this example, suppose whatever I am developing, if I just take 30 minutes, but my competitor takes 2, 8 or 6 hours, that means they are taking more time than me. I am doing better than the competitor. So I show myself in green color, okay, and then in the orange or red color. So this kind of simple color coding, at a glance, I can know how I am doing better than the competitor in which parameters and where I am not doing. So there I need to improve or match, okay. And wherever possible, try to use quantitative terms again. Here I could have also said that mine takes less time and the competitors takes more time. But instead of that less and more time, if I can specify how much, so that will have more impact. So that was about novelty, IP. If you have already filed a patent, then please include the number in the application, proposal application. Next very important part is the preliminary data. So we talked about credibility of the team, that why you. So that credibility will come from what you have already done in this area. So if you have done some initial experiments, some studies, which maybe you have already published also, so try to include data from that and some pictures, graphs, and show that what all you have done. That will indicate that you know how to do it. It is doable, it is technically also feasible, and will add to your credibility and will develop more confidence about your project. A very important part is the methodology. That is, if suppose it is a 1-year project, then what all you will complete in that 1 year. So do you have clarity that what needs to be done first and then followed by what experiment, what are the specific activities which will help you achieve your objectives. So we will have objective 1, 2, 3, and for each objective we will have to then think about different activities or tasks which need to be done to achieve that particular objective. For each task, I will have a criteria. How will I know whether that task has been completed? So if my task was to buy A, B, C equipment, okay, to do my experiments, then my criteria here will be installation of that equipment. So when a reviewer is there for the progress review, they will ask you, okay, you had said criteria here was installation of ABC equipment. So show us whether you have installed it. So if you show that it has been installed, okay, that means that task has been completed. Then the time frame, how long you are going to take. So if I say I'll buy ABC equipment, installation of that equipment, so time frame I'll put say 6 to 8 months, depending on how long it takes. And what resources I need. So I will need some money to buy that. So how much I need. Okay. So this is how I'll have my objectives, and then different activities. How will I achieve each objective? And there has to be a logical flow when I am actually building this work plan. So more about the methodology or work plan here. So this will help the reader walk through your project. What are the different activities you are proposing? What timeline? How will you do it? When? How long it will take? Who is going to do what? Where? If you have identified the facilities, means if some things you are going to outsource, do you know where you are going to outsource? Have you mentioned all those details? This is all that will be checked. So your plan has to be very, very thorough. If you say I'll buy XYZ raw material, then have you identified from which vendor, who is it, for how much they are selling it? So all these details, have you thought about it? And then we don't want you to stop at that particular project only. As I said, for a bigger project, you will have to complete say 5 to 6 projects, and then you will finally reach the market, right? So here, if we take example of BIG, Biotechnology Ignition Grant, the call is currently open and it's a grant by DBT BIRAC. It's a 50 lakhs grant for over 18 months period. So in the BIG proposal, we ask for this kind of a commercialization strategy slide. That means, say by the end of BIG, by the end of 18 months, if I would have made a validated prototype, then do I know how long I will take to finally take it to market. So to take it to market, there are these steps in between. Okay. That is, after I have the validated prototype, I might need to do clinical validation, some field trials, get some regulatory approvals, get the manufacturing license, set up my own manufacturing unit, or maybe outsource it for contract manufacturing. I will have to do marketing for it. I will have to do business development. Then finally, I might be able to launch the product. So whether I know these steps, I know how long each step is going to take. So you will put some months, say 24 months, 18 months, 1 year, whatever. So finally, I will know that it might take say 5 years, 6 years, 7 years for the product to reach the market. And whether you know this whole journey, and in this journey, to support all these activities, you will have to raise more funds. Okay. So whether you know about those funding opportunities, like Mugdha showed you about different funding opportunities. So BIG is a grant. So you start with fellowships and grants, but later for these kind of bigger activities where you need more money, you might need to raise seed funding. You might need to approach angel investors or private investors or venture capitalists, private equity. So all this, whether you know it and you have thought about it, that is what we need to actually evaluate here. Next, all these funding agencies we are talking about are here to support projects which have a commercialization potential. Means if we can convert that idea into a business. So when we are talking about converting an idea into a business, then for that business, whether I know what will be my business model, that is, who will be my customer, what exactly I will be selling to the customer, whether it will be a product, a technology, or a service. Sometimes you may not, travel the whole path. You may just develop it up to this level, and you can license the technology also. And person who has licensed it from you, they will take care of the approvals and the manufacturing and everything. So whether you have that clarity that you just want to do it from point A to B, and then B to Z, someone else is going to take it. So all these things, how will you approach your customers? Whether you will participate in conferences or you will give some samples to them for testing. So what will be your go-to-market strategy? Have you looked at different startups who are working in the same area, whether they have raised investments, for these kind of projects? And this is how you will try to build your own business models. So how will you make money? Who you will sell it to, whether it will be B2B, B2C, or B2G, business to business, business to consumer, or business to government. So if you can have a simple flowchart to explain that, that will be really great. Next, very important is who are you? Okay, credibility. So your team. So there will be some templates along with each application. Funding agency will ask you for your detailed bio, detailed CV. And if you are asked for a presentation, then please include your photo in the presentation. Write your name, your affiliation, your academic background, say PhD or MSc in what subject, how many years of experience, then what is your expertise, and whether you will be the project leader or co-PI, or you will be a business mentor or a technical lead. So define all that, not only for your full-time team, but also for your advisors or mentors who are maybe part-time with you, but you need to include their details also, because they are also contributing to the technology development and your project. And that will maybe add to the credibility with their experience and their know-how. Very important is we are doing all this exercise to raise money. Yes. So how much? How much should we ask? So be very reasonable here and very realistic. So every funding agency will have a budget template. Please follow that. Say for BIG, this is how the template is. These are the different heads which are defined by them. So stick to the same words, same terms, and sometimes they also have some caps for certain budget heads. Like for BIG, they say not more than 30% for equipment, not more than 30% for manpower. So we cannot then ask for, say, out of 50 lakhs, 25 lakhs for equipment. They will totally reject it in the first attempt itself. They'll say, because you have not thought about it, you have not carefully read the guidelines. And then the justification will come from your work plan. So again, I'll go back to your work plan. If you have done your methodology work plan very carefully and listed all the activities and not missed out on any activity, then accordingly you will have, you will know what resources are required, and you will do the calculation, and that will reflect here in the budget and the justification also. Next comes, we need to define certain objectives and milestones. So for example of BIG, BIG is 18 months project where you need to have 3 milestones. So every 6 months you need to complete 1 milestone, and accordingly the money is disbursed, given to you. So you need to understand that any grant you raise, they will not disburse the whole amount when you are signing the agreement or when the result is announced. They will give you a certain amount of it, and then subsequently, based on how you make the progress will be monitored. There will be a committee, a project monitoring committee comprising of experts from your subject. They will then go back to your work plan. Okay, they will go back to this milestones thing like this, where you will have some milestones and you would have said, I will complete this, this, this. So they will check whether you have completed, what are the supporting documents, and then only the next amount will be released. So this is how the release happens. And this is how you define your objectives and milestones. So say for BIG, there are 3 milestones over a period of every 6 months. And there is a broad milestone, and then there are activities. And based on activities, you will also indicate, like there will be some indicators to demonstrate that you have achieved the milestone. So here, these are there. So suppose if you had said, I will purchase equipment. So whether the equipment has been purchased and installed, I will hire people. So whether the team is in place, I will design the prototype, whether you have designed the prototype. If I had said, I'll finalize the PCB design, I'll do the mechanical analysis, then they'll ask whether you have done it, show the results. So this is how each milestone you will be checked. And if you look at the M3 here, the final milestone. So here, if you see, we have used numerical parameters. So we have said we'll make 20 units, which will be tested at 3 centers. So this kind of clarity and specificity when I have in my work plan, then that helps me, design my budget. So I know that I will be making 20 units. So I'll do the calculation how much raw material and material I will require, machine time, people to make the 20 units. And then 3 centers if I have to do clinical evaluation, if I have to outsource it, how much I have to pay them. So all this I will have to then define. So usually we tell that, just don't say validation of the prototype. Try to have numerical parameters there. And this is the grant end deliverable, the final end deliverable, that is a device. So in the same example of glucose monitoring device, a device that will measure the blood glucose levels within 2 minutes with a limit of detection of X milligram per ml at 95% sensitivity and at 98% specificity. So this is a kind of, target product profile. So if I have the target technical specifications for my product already defined at the beginning, then I will have a work plan to work towards achieving that target. But if the target only is not clear, then I may, just keep doing things and I may not be able to achieve what is exactly required. So if you have understood the problem statement and need very carefully, then design your target, then you will work in these 18 months to achieve that target. So it's very important to have a target product profile defined. Then the evaluation. So many a times the funding agencies in the scheme document will have a section where they'll tell you that how is their evaluation criteria, how will they evaluate the proposal based on what. So this is the evaluation criteria and weightages for BIG. So in PIG, this is how the scoring happens. Technical feasibility 10%, novelty and team is highest 20%. Then comes the importance of the impact you are creating, the commercialization strategy. Are there any barriers and what is your plan? So what is this barriers and strategies is, so any technology development will involve some risks. Yeah. So have you identified those risks early? And do you know what are those risks? And if you know them, do you have an alternate strategy? If I am saying I will buy X equipment to do a certain experiment, what if I'm not able to get that X equipment? Can I have a Y equipment, a plan B, which can also do the same experiment or make the same kind of prototype? So these are some of the barriers, and and if I know this can happen, do I have a plan B? So risk assessment and risk mitigation strategy, do I have that in place? Sometimes some of the projects, there could be very big risks with respect to environmental hazards. Whatever you are developing may be actually hazardous also to the environment. It might have some good use, but if it is hazardous or during making that, if you are really using very hazardous chemicals, then having that final product makes no sense. Okay, or there could be some regulatory hurdles with respect to getting the approvals, GMO, for example. So all this, whether you have thought about, and do you have an alternate strategy for it? And then you can see that even if you fail in one of these, it's not a we'll just total. And if you have, say, more than 60% out of 100, then you pass. No, it's not like that. It is not additive. Even if you fail in one of the aspects, your whole proposal fails. So this is something we really need to understand for any of the funding agencies. It's not the total marks they look at, but they look at each of the aspects if those are properly covered. So in brief, this is what a funding agency is looking for, and whether you have taken good efforts to align your proposal to the questions of funding agency. For example, what is their goal and whether your goal and their goal matches. Is there an alignment? Okay. Execution methodology, whether it is really well thought, You have seriously thought it looks doable in that particular timeline and with that money. So resource needs is also something which needs to be checked. Whether you have resonance, whether our wavelengths match, whatever I am, trying to support the cost with my grants, are you also asking the money for the same cost, and how will you do it? And finally, who are you? Why you? Whether you have done this kind, how should I trust you? So the trust will come from your strengths. Whether you have done it before, your track record, or people who are there in your team are, capable of doing it. So that was about the grant proposal, the main application document. But along with your application document, you can have some supporting documents. Okay. So you can attach some letter of support from any collaborators, or there will be some letter of commitments or letter of expression of interest. Suppose you are developing a technology which you plan to license to a bigger industry. So do you have a letter of expression from those bigger industries that yes, if these people develop it, we are going to take it ahead? So if you have these kind of documents, please attach them to your grant proposal. That will add to your credibility. Do not wait till the deadline. So please, before the deadline, make sure you are ready with your proposal. Someone else other than you reads your proposal, does a good proofreading. If you want to do a spell check, even improve the English there, you can take help from people. And please submit it on time and know the time first of all. For example, in case of BIG, what happens is if the last date is 16th of August, so the along with date, they also mentioned it is 5:30 p.m. of 16th of August. So many times people just assume that 16th of August means midnight of 16th. And then they will sit at 8 p.m. and open the portal and try to submit, where they will get a message that portal is closed. So you need to have those details with you, and if you have read the scheme document carefully, you will know what is exact deadline and you will have a plan maybe to complete before that. Then next thing is mentoring for grant writing. So sometimes it could be your first time when you are writing, or even if it is your maybe 10th time, sometimes it is better to approach people who have done it before, or people like us from a incubator facility where we have helped people write these kind of proposals. So we know, just looking at your proposal, we'll tell you what are the weak points which you need to improve to make it more competitive, because we need to understand that these grants are very, very competitive. For any funding agency, they open a call, they get lots and lots of applications, say 1,000 to 2,000 applications, and they need to select only 30 or 40. So then you can understand how much is the competition there. So that's why we really need to, put our best foot there. So for that, if required, seek help. Seek help from mentors, seniors, people who have done it before, or people like us who are implementation partners for many of the grants, and try to understand why the proposal has failed, if it fails. Whether you didn't meet the deadlines, or it was not interesting enough, you didn't follow the templates and guidelines, it wasn't complete, or your literature review was weak, or your methodology plan was weak, or as a person, as your background they found is weak, and you don't have the capacity to do it, whether your budget was unrealistic, or whatever you're making, that benefit is less compared to the hazards associated or the cost of developing. That is also something which will be looked at, or if it is totally poorly written. So finally, just to summarize, there are some tips. So try to be very realistic. Yes. Don't just, for the sake of writing, write anything like, I'll do this and we'll achieve this way. And sometimes people just try to overcommit. Don't do that. It's okay if you achieve more than what you have committed. That's always good and applauded. But if you overcommit and if you're not able to achieve, you are not going to get the next disbursements. Okay, you saw now 30%, 30%, that's how they release the money. So you will not get it if you have overcommitted and you are not realistic, and really you are in practically you are not able to achieve it. So don't talk in general terms, be very specific, use quantitative terms, choose a format that is clear, use a language that can be understood. It has to be very simple. Know your funder, do meetings with them, understand the guidelines, then build your proposal. Start with a brief summary, have a very good brainstorming session with your team to finalize the title, summary, each section, maybe one day, each section you can work on. Budget has to be really thought about and checked again and again so that you don't miss, because once granted, you will not get a chance to change it again. Submit all the requested application materials. Make sure you have submitted all the attachments are there. You don't miss out on anything. Take your time. Don't wait till the last minute to write it, because at last minute you may miss out some of the details. Read the instructions again whenever you have doubt and meet the deadline. That is really very, very important. So one needs to understand that there will be failures. No one has, actually made it in the first attempt. Very few. So it's okay if you fail in your first attempt, second attempt, third attempt also, not an issue. What you need to keep in mind is next time when you're, submitting the same proposal, make sure that you have worked on the reviewer comments and made it stronger, improved on whatever were the weak points, and then you are submitting it again. So rewrite again till you actually make it, because if you're really passionate about idea, then you shouldn't shy away from writing the grants and getting the funds for it and making it possible. So that's all from my side on grant writing. Happy to take questions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Sakai. It was really an elaborative explanation what you have given about the different aspects that what should be done when you are writing the grant. So any questions from the audience, please?
You can even type in the chat box.
Yes.
See the chat box now, sorry. Earlier when you said presentation is not visible, I couldn't see the chat box, that's why. Maybe I'll just continue. Any questions? Students, faculty members? It's okay right now. If you don't have any questions, maybe you have our contact details, mine and Mugdha's, and you can always
Any success story?
okay, there is one, any success story of any student which can be shared. Yes, there are a lot of success stories of students. So I don't know if you have heard about, I'll just type the name here, the company's name, that's called Care Labs. So this is by Ajinkya Dharia. So yeah, Care. So Ajinkya Dharia started soon after his BTech. He just BTech, and after BTech, yeah, after the graduation, he had this idea of safe disposal of sanitary pads, and he came to us. He wrote a proposal to BIRAC. He got the grant, and we started working on it. So there are a lot of examples of students. In fact, the EIR fellowship, which Mugdha must have mentioned, EIR and SIIP. So we have supported a lot of students through it. And there are a lot of success stories. One of those is Care Labs. One more young student who started with SIIP fellow. His company is called Crast. He is into energy and environment, where they have a process to convert the waste, agriculture waste to furniture material. So that is one company. So there are a lot of students, who have made it big.
Any age limit for a person who is going to write the grant?
Age limit?
Yeah.
No, there's no age limit in the sense, maybe sometimes for some grants they say that you should have completed your graduation, but upper limit is not there. Or as a company, say for BIG, it is that your company should not be more than 5 years old. That kind of eligibility criteria are there.
Okay. And if the person is, what you can say, doing a job, is he eligible or?
Yes, you are eligible. It's just that you need to have a letter of commitment that if you are selected, you will take this full time. So if you are employed in a academic organization, then you need to maybe have a NOC from your organization saying that they will also allow you to take this up full time once you get the grant and you are also ready to do it.
Is there any requirement that you should have some prior work in that particular area for which you're proposing the project?
Yes, yes, that is added advantage actually because they check for your bio. So if you don't have that expertise, anyone from your team, or if you have done some initial experiments, then
Okay.
yeah, they do check that.
There are two more questions.
Yes, there are some in chat box. You can see one is scrutiny process for selection of proposals and time duration. So usually any funding call, it takes minimum 6 months, 6 to 8 months from the time of application to there are usually 2 rounds of reviews. One is, online review when they read the proposal submitted by you, and based on that they select few for presentation. So some people get selected to actually present in front of the committee, and then the final ones are selected. So the whole process takes around 6 to 8 months. So that's the answer to that question. And Kalpana has asked, do we need to have subject-wise research expertise in terms of, yes, better if you have. Otherwise, there will be questions around, and if you don't have, then at least have advisors, mentors, or some other team members or collaborators to help you with it. Can it be a joint proposal? So if it's a joint proposal, it depends on eligibility criteria of that funding agency. Say in BIRAC, there are some calls where you can apply as a joint proposal between 2 collaborators, but some places it is not allowed. And terms and conditions, yes, they would define. If it is in collaboration, then usually if it's academic and industry collaboration, they release the money only to academia, and academia is asked to present the money utilization every year, and the industry can only support. It's usually like that.
If we get a grant through venture center as a incubation center, so is it mandatory to work at venture center only, or we can work at our place in the institute where you are working?
Yeah, so for BIG, suppose if you apply through us as BIG partner, then it is not necessary that you have to work at venture center only. If you have a good laboratory in your place where we feel you have all the right kind of resources available, you can work over there. But there are some fellowship programs or Nidhi Prayas, some early stage one where we expect the students to work here in the campus so that we can closely monitor their progress.
Okay.
IP of the innovator stays with the innovator only. We don't take any share in the IP or even in the company. We only charge for the services which we provide.
And if any kind of technology is developed, so do you help in the transfer process or?
Yes, so we have a TechX department here, Technology Transfer Office, which actually works towards this only, that if there are some technologies and these need to be licensed to some big players, so they do technology matchmaker, where they provide a platform where people who have technologies pitch, they present their technologies, and then people in the audience will submit their expression of interest. So it's kind of technology seekers and providers matchmaking. So we do have that facility.
Yeah, I think we have almost a brainstorming with these questions. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Smita Kale, ma'am. You have taken us through the entire process of the grant writing with all the basics, and to the end of it where we can look for any investment and any collaborations and incubations at your end and also at our end. We would like to say that we are still upcoming in this area of IIC, but we would be definitely looking forward to in future to have many of our students being actively participating and being mentored by your venture center. So on behalf of Dr. Bharat Shinde, Principal of Vidya Pratishthan's Arts, Science, Commerce College, and all the vice principals and the convener, Dr. Tushar Gurse, Mrs. Nilima Pendharkar, IQAC coordinator and president of IIC, and all the coordinators of IIC, because of whose support we could organize this Impact Lecture Series, the second session today. So we will be organizing similar activities throughout the year to make sure that the students have such brainstorming sessions so that they can come out with beautiful ideas, because in this competitive world, they need to stand with such creativity. Otherwise, I think just seeking jobs or doing just for entrepreneurship would not make them to land with a landmarking position in their career. So looking at this, we will be organizing many more events, ma'am, in future with mutual collaboration with your venture center. So thank you so much, Dr. Smita Karlan, ma'am, for taking your time out and for giving us complete idea of how to develop an idea and to take it through the proposal and to come out with, definitely in future maybe we would have our own ideas incubated at your sector and students coming up with their own technology or maybe a process transfer. Thank you so much, ma'am, and I assure you once again through IIC and through Vidya Pratishthan Arts and Commerce College, we will be having many such mutual events in the future. Thank you so much. And I also thank all the dear students who have taken time to participate in such great brainstorming session in spite of having vacation after the immediate exams. So I thank one and all for being present, the faculty members and even my dear students. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Smita madam.
Bye.
Before we leave, can we get some contacts of those incubatees who are working so that they can share their experiences with our students? Some sessions if we can organize along with them.
Yes, you can always write to us and yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll talk with Mugdha madam and I'll.
Yes.
Yes, we can do.
We can do that.
Okay, once again, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, dear students. Thanks for your attendance. If you have taken your photographs, please send it to your PG in charges. So you can send your photographs of attendance to the PG in charges so that I can collect. Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you to all. Thank you, madam. Kalpana, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.